It was a gray afternoon, and the city was alive with the usual chaos. Cars honked, people hurried along the sidewalks, and the smell of street food mingled with the scent of wet pavement. Among all this noise and movement, a small figure moved slowly, almost hesitantly. Her name was Emma. She was 10 years old and she could not see. Blind since birth, Emma had learned to navigate the world with her hands, her ears, and her heart. But today was different. Today, she felt lost in a way that scared her deeply. Emma's school had taken a trip to the city museum. She had been excited for weeks, imagining all the exhibits she would explore. The tall dinosaur skeletons, the soft sculptures, the musical instruments she could touch and play. But in her excitement, she had wandered too far from her group. Now, standing alone in the middle of a crowded street, Emma realized she had no idea where she was. She raised her hands in front of her, trying to feel the space around her. Her small fingers brushed against a wet lamppost. The rain had started to fall lightly, drumming softly against her hair and coat. She shivered. Her heart pounded not just from the cold but from fear. She called out softly, hoping someone nearby would hear her. "Excuse me, can anyone help me?" Her voice was small, almost swallowed by the city's noise. People walked past her. Some glanced at her briefly, but none stopped. Some muttered under their breath, annoyed by the interruption. Emma felt a sinking feeling in her chest. She had known the city could be busy, even overwhelming, but she had never felt so invisible before. Emma's cane tapped nervously against the ground. She had learned to use it to sense obstacles, to find walls or curbs to move safely. But the city streets were unpredictable. Cars swerved close to the curb. People jostled her accidentally as they hurried to their destinations. Every sound seemed louder, sharper, more confusing than it had any right to be. She felt her small hands grow clammy and her breathing became uneven. I can't find my class," she whispered to herself, trying to sound braver than she felt. She remembered the teacher's face before she got separated, smiling and waving goodbye. But now that smile was a memory, and the streets were full of strangers. She longed for someone to notice her, someone to say, "Don't worry, I'll help you." Meanwhile, across the street, a boy named Miles was busy trying to sell newspapers. He was 12 years old and had learned early in life that nothing came easily. His clothes were worn, his shoes patched in several places, and his hands were calloused from work. Miles had grown up helping his family in ways that many other children did not understand. Yet despite the hardships, he carried a spark of hope and courage that was rare for someone his age. When Miles saw Emma standing alone, her small form trembling slightly under the rain, something stirred in him. Most adults in the city passed by without noticing her. They were in too much of a hurry or too caught up in their own lives. But Miles stopped. Something in the way she held herself, the way she called out softly, told him she needed help. He dropped the newspapers he had been holding and ran toward her, careful not to startle her. "Hey," he called gently, "are you okay?" Emma flinched at first. The sudden voice made her anxious. But there was kindness in his tone, a warmth that made her hesitate. She took a deep breath and replied, I can't find my class." Her voice trembled slightly. Miles nodded as if he understood exactly what that meant. "Don't worry, I'll help you," he said simply. There was no hesitation in his voice, no judgment, just a promise of guidance. Emma's fingers brushed his outstretched hand cautiously. She could feel the strength in his grip, the confidence in his touch. For the first time since she had realized she was lost, she felt a little hope. Slowly, she took his hand, and together they began to move down the street. Miles spoke softly as they walked. "There's a bakery on the next corner. Smells amazing, doesn't it?" Emma smiled faintly, imagining the sweet smell of bread and pastries. "Yes," she said. "It smells nice," Miles continued. "And a little further, there's a fountain. You'll hear the water splashing if we get close." Emma listened carefully, letting his words paint pictures in her mind. It was comforting to have someone describe the world around her, to know she wasn't completely alone. Miles didn't rush. He didn't complain. Every time they came close to a car or a group of people, he would warn her, "Step a little to the left. Careful now." As they moved together, Emma started to relax. She focused on the sound of Miles's voice, the steady rhythm of his steps, and the way he described the world with such detail. She realized that sometimes people who really cared could help you see more than just with your eyes. After a few blocks, Emma stumbled slightly. Miles caught her arm gently. "Easy there," he said. "You're doing fine." Just a little more. Emma's heart swelled with gratitude. She wanted to say thank you, but words felt too small to capture what she felt. For the first time that day, she felt safe, and that safety gave her courage. She squeezed Miles's hand lightly, a silent thank you that he understood perfectly. The street seemed less frightening now. The sounds of the city were still there, the horns, the chatter, the rain, but they were accompanied by the sound of Miles's calm, reassuring voice. Emma realized that even when the world seemed to ignore you, there were always small lights of kindness to guide you. By the time they reached a small park near the police station, Emma's fear had begun to fade. She could hear the fountain Miles had mentioned earlier, the water splashing and echoing softly. She paused for a moment, letting the sound fill her mind and calm her heart. Miles knelt down slightly to her level. "We're almost there," he said. "Just a little further and you'll be safe." Emma nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and admiration for this boy who had appeared when she needed help the most. She had been invisible to so many people, overlooked and ignored, but Miles had seen her. He had noticed her fear and stepped in without hesitation. As they approached the station, Emma could hear the voices of people calling her name. Her teacher and classmates were there, searching for her with worry etched on their faces. Emma's heart leapt with joy and relief. Miles smiled down at her. "See, you're safe now," he said. "They've been looking for you." Emma turned to him, her small hand still holding his. "Thank you," she whispered. Miles shrugged slightly, pretending to be modest, but his eyes shone with pride. "Anyone would have done the same," he said. But deep down he knew this moment was special. Helping someone in need had touched something inside him, something he hadn't felt before. As Emma ran to her teacher's arms, safe and smiling, Miles watched quietly from the steps of the station. The rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle, and the city felt a little less overwhelming now. Miles knew that today he had made a difference, not just for Emma, but for himself too. And in the heart of the bustling city, two lives had quietly intersected, proving that even in a world full of people who sometimes look the other way, a single act of kindness could shine brighter than the grayest clouds. The streets were quieter now. The rain had stopped completely, leaving behind a fresh smell that made the city feel alive in a new way. Miles stood near the steps of the police station, watching Emma reunite with her teacher and classmates. He could see the relief on the teacher's face, the happiness in the children's eyes, but there was something else too, a lesson that not everyone sees at first glance. Helping someone mattered more than recognition or reward. As Emma hugged her teacher tightly, Miles felt a strange mix of pride and shyness. He had never expected thanks. He had acted on instinct, following the small voice inside him that said, "You need to help her." Yet even without expecting anything, he felt a warmth inside, a feeling that maybe his small act had made a difference. "Come here, Miles," called the teacher. Her name was Mrs. Thompson, and she had a gentle voice that made people feel at ease. "I want to thank you properly." Miles hesitated. He wasn't used to being called forward. He was used to selling newspapers, doing chores, and helping his family quietly. Recognition made him uncomfortable, but Emma's teacher smiled at him warmly, and he slowly walked toward her. "You saved Emma," Mrs. Thompson said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't have to, but you did. You were brave and kind." Miles shrugged slightly, avoiding her gaze. "I just helped," he said softly. "But it was more than that," Mrs. Thompson insisted. "You guided her through a busy street, you stayed calm when she was scared, and you made sure she was safe. That takes courage. Most people would have walked past." Miles looked down at his shoes, unsure how to respond. He had never thought of himself as brave. He had only done what felt right. But listening to Mrs. Thompson, he realized that bravery wasn't about being fearless. It was about acting even when you were afraid. Meanwhile, Emma was watching him from a few steps away. Her small hands were still clasped together, and she had a shy smile on her face. "Thank you," she whispered again, this time directly to him. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Miles smiled faintly, feeling a lump in his throat. "It's okay," he said. "I'm glad you're safe." After a few moments, Mrs. Thompson suggested, "Why don't you come inside for a bit? Warm up, have some water. You've been out in the rain." Miles hesitated again, thinking about the newspapers he still needed to sell, but Emma's smile and the kind way the teacher looked at him made him nod. Together, they stepped inside the police station, leaving the wet streets behind. The station was warm and quiet, a stark contrast to the chaotic streets outside. A kind officer offered Miles a towel and some water, and he accepted gratefully. As he dried his hands, he watched Emma sitting with her classmates. She was talking softly, laughing at something one of the other children had said. Miles realized how ordinary this scene seemed to everyone else, yet it was extraordinary to him. He had played a part in making it happen. "Emma," Mrs. Thompson said gently, "would you like to tell Miles what you learned today?" Emma looked at him, her eyes bright even though she could not see. "I learned that there are people who care," she said. "Even when it feels like everyone has ignored you, someone will help you. And it makes you feel safe." Miles nodded, feeling the truth of her words. He realized that by helping Emma, he had also discovered something about himself. He could make a difference even if it was small. And that realization was powerful. The officer at the station helped contact Emma's parents, and soon, her mother arrived, rushing through the doors with worry etched on her face. She hugged her daughter tightly, whispering comforting words. Then her eyes fell on Miles. "You're the boy who helped her?" she asked, her voice full of surprise and gratitude. Miles nodded quietly. "Yes, ma'am," he said. Her eyes softened, and she reached out to touch his shoulder. "Thank you," she said simply. "I don't know what we would have done if you hadn't been there." Miles shrugged again, still not used to praise. But inside, a small flame of pride was growing. This moment, brief as it was, felt important. It reminded him that kindness, no matter how small, could ripple through lives in ways people didn't always see. After Emma's parents had calmed her down, Mrs. Thompson spoke to Miles. "You know, there are people who will notice your kindness even if you don't expect it," she said. "You have a good heart, Miles, don't forget that." Miles felt warmth spread through him. For so long he had worried about money, about survival, about doing enough just to get by. He hadn't thought much about his own character, about the kind of person he was becoming. But hearing Mrs. Thompson say this made him pause and think. Maybe he could be someone who helped others, someone who made the world better even in small ways. Emma's mother turned to him again. "If you ever need anything," she said, "don't hesitate to reach out. You've shown us what a good person you are." Miles smiled faintly. "Thank you," he said. He didn't ask for anything in return because he didn't want anything. Helping Emma had already given him something he hadn't expected, a sense of purpose. Before he left the station, Emma held out her small hand. "Will you walk with me tomorrow, too?" she asked shyly. Miles felt his heart swell. He could see how much it meant to her, even if she couldn't see him. "Of course," he said. "I'll help you anytime you need." As Miles stepped out of the station, the sun began to break through the clouds. Rays of light reflected off the wet streets, creating a kind of magic that made the city look less gray, more alive. Miles felt the weight of the day lift slightly. He had started the morning worrying about selling newspapers and helping his family, but now he felt something different. He felt hope. Walking home, he thought about what had happened. Helping Emma had not only changed her day, it had changed his. He realized that courage wasn't about fighting or winning. It was about standing up for someone who couldn't stand up for themselves. It was about noticing what others ignored. And most importantly, it was about kindness, the kind that comes without expectation, the kind that can change lives quietly but forever. When he arrived at his small apartment, his mother was waiting for him. "How was your day?" she asked. Miles smiled softly, thinking of Emma's small hand in his. "It was not good," he said simply. But inside, he knew it had been more than good. It had been life-changing. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought about Emma. He thought about the fear she had felt and the relief in her voice when she realized she was safe. He thought about how small acts, offering a hand, speaking kindly, guiding someone through fear, could matter so much. And he realized that tomorrow he would do it all over again if he needed to. Miles drifted off to sleep with a quiet sense of pride and hope. He knew that life would not always be easy. He knew that there would still be struggles, hard days and challenges. But he also knew something powerful, that courage and kindness could make a difference, no matter how small a person might feel in the world. And for Emma, somewhere in the city, the memory of a young boy's hand guiding her safely through fear would stay with her too. A reminder that even in a world full of people who sometimes look the other way, there was always someone willing to care. The morning sun streamed through the small windows of Emma's classroom. Even though she could not see it, she could feel the warmth on her face, and it filled her with a gentle happiness. Today was a special day for her. She was looking forward to seeing Miles again, the boy who had helped her through the crowded streets just yesterday. His kindness had stayed with her, making her feel safe in a way she had never experienced before. Meanwhile, Miles adjusted the worn strap of his backpack and walked down the familiar streets toward the school. He still had his newspaper route to finish, but he was eager to see Emma. Helping her yesterday had awakened something in him, a sense of pride and responsibility that he could not ignore. He had never been someone who made a difference, at least not in ways he could see. But now even small gestures felt important. When Miles arrived near the school entrance, he saw Emma standing by the playground. She was waiting patiently, her hands lightly brushing the railing as she listened for the sounds of approaching footsteps. As soon as he called her name, she turned toward his voice. "Miles!" she said, her smile bright in her voice. "Hey, Emma," he replied. "Ready to go?" She nodded eagerly. "Yes." "Can you help me again?" "Of course," he said, offering his hand. And just like yesterday, Emma placed her small hand in his. It was a simple gesture, but it carried a powerful sense of trust. Together, they stepped into the bustling streets. The city seemed different in the morning light. The air was fresher, the sounds less threatening. Miles guided Emma carefully, pointing out details she could imagine. The distant hum of a bus, the chatter of children walking to school, the scent of fresh bread from a nearby bakery. Emma closed her eyes and let the descriptions paint pictures in her mind. "You know, it feels like the city is alive today," she said softly. "I can almost see it in my head." Miles smiled, happy to hear her words. "It is alive," he said. "You just have to listen and feel it." As they walked, Miles noticed that Emma was more confident than yesterday. She held her head higher and her steps were steadier. He realized that even small acts of support could help someone grow stronger. It was not just about guiding her through the streets. It was about giving her the courage to trust herself and the world around her. They arrived at a small park where Emma liked to sit before school. She could hear the birds singing and the wind rustling the leaves. Miles helped her to a bench and let her sit comfortably. "You like this place, don't you?" he asked. "Yes," Emma said. "It's peaceful here. I can hear everything, and it doesn't feel scary like the streets sometimes do." Miles nodded. "It's important to have safe places," he said. "Places where you can feel calm, even when everything around you is loud or confusing." For a while they sat in silence, listening to the city around them. Emma's small fingers traced the pattern of the bench, and Miles watched her with a quiet smile. He felt proud that he could help her feel safe, even if it was just for a few moments. After a while, Emma spoke again. "Miles, can I ask you something?" "Sure," he said, leaning slightly forward. "Why did you help me yesterday?" "You didn't have to, but you did. Why?" Miles paused, thinking carefully. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I guess. I just didn't like seeing you scared and alone. I wanted to help. And I think helping someone makes you feel good too." Emma smiled softly. "You're right," she said. "I felt safe when you held my hand. I felt like I mattered." Miles looked at her, understanding exactly what she meant. He had never thought much about how it felt to matter to someone, or how small acts of kindness could create trust and connection. But now, standing beside Emma, he realized that helping someone else could be a gift for both people. After a few more minutes, the school bell rang in the distance. Emma's teacher would be expecting her soon. "We should go," Miles said gently. "I'll walk you to your classroom." They moved together through the park and onto the quiet streets leading to the school. Emma's small hand remained in his, a symbol of their growing trust. Along the way, they talked about small things, what Emma liked to do at school, the games she enjoyed, and the stories she loved to hear. Miles listened carefully, adding his own thoughts and stories, making her laugh with small jokes and funny observations. By the time they reached the school, Emma felt calmer than ever before. She could hear the familiar voices of her classmates and the shuffle of shoes in the hallway. Miles stopped at the door of her classroom. "Here we are," he said softly. Emma squeezed his hand gently. "Thank you, Miles," she said. "For everything." "You're welcome," he replied. "Remember, I'll help you anytime you need." She smiled, and for a moment the world seemed full of possibility. Emma walked into her classroom, feeling brave and safe, carrying with her the memory of Miles's steady hand. Miles turned to leave, But he didn't feel like the day was over. He had a new sense of purpose now, a feeling that even small acts could create bonds and change lives. As he walked back to his newspaper route, he thought about the importance of being there for others, and how trust and kindness could make the world a better place, one step at a time. The rest of the morning passed quickly. Miles sold newspapers, helped a neighbor carry groceries, and even stopped to assist an elderly man who had dropped his wallet. With each small action, Miles felt more confident in himself. He realized that bravery wasn't about fighting or winning. It was about noticing who needed help and offering it without hesitation. Meanwhile, Emma settled into her classroom. She could hear the sounds of lessons, the quiet rustling of papers, and the laughter of her friends. But she kept thinking about Miles. She wanted to tell him about her favorite stories and the books she loved, the music she enjoyed, and even the little adventures she had in her imagination. She felt a special bond with him, a connection that went beyond words or sight. After school, Emma waited outside as her classmates were picked up. Miles appeared almost immediately, holding his backpack and smiling warmly. "Ready to go home?" he asked. Emma nodded. "Yes, I can't wait to tell you about my day." They walked together through the streets again, talking about everything they had done and learned. Emma felt excited and safe, and Miles felt proud and happy. The city no longer seemed so overwhelming. With each step they took together, they created a world of understanding, trust, and friendship. By the time they reached Emma's home, the sun was beginning to set. The warm orange light reflected off the windows, and the sounds of the city softened as the day drew to a close. Emma's mother opened the door and welcomed Miles inside for a moment. "Thank you again," she said. "You've been so kind to Emma." Miles smiled shyly. "It's nothing," he said, but he felt the truth of her words inside. Small acts of kindness could grow into something bigger, and he was beginning to understand just how powerful that could be. As Miles walked back home that evening, he reflected on the day. He thought about how helping Emma had made him feel stronger, more capable, and more connected to the world around him. He knew that life would have challenges, that he would face struggles, and that not every day would be easy. But he also knew that courage and kindness were tools he could carry with him, tools that could change the world in small but meaningful ways. That night, Miles lay in bed, thinking about the new friendship he had formed. He thought about Emma's small hand in his, the trust she had placed in him, and the courage he had shown in facing her fear. He realized that helping someone was not just about doing what was right. It was about building connections, creating trust, and making a difference in ways that could last a lifetime. And as he drifted off to sleep, he felt a quiet sense of hope and pride. He knew that tomorrow, he would continue to help, continue to guide, and continue to make the world a little better, one step, one hand, and one act of kindness at a time. The morning air was cool and fresh as Miles walked down the familiar streets toward Emma's school. The city was alive with its usual sounds, car horns, children laughing, and shopkeepers calling out to customers. But today, Miles felt a sense of excitement he had not felt in a long time. He knew Emma would be waiting for him, and that thought made his steps lighter. As he approached the school, he noticed Emma standing near the gate. She held her cane in her hand and listened carefully to the sounds around her, waiting. When she heard Miles calling her name, she ran toward him, her small feet pattering on the pavement. "Miles," she called happily. "Hey, Emma," he said, smiling. "Ready for another adventure today?" Emma nodded eagerly. "Yes, let's go." Miles extended his hand and she placed hers in it. The trust between them had grown stronger since their first encounter. Today it felt even deeper, a silent promise that they would look out for each other no matter what. As they walked through the busy streets, Miles noticed something unusual. A group of older boys was loitering near the corner where the sidewalk narrowed. They were talking loudly and seemed to be causing trouble for passers-by. Most people avoided them, hurrying past with nervous glances. Miles felt a flicker of concern. He knew the city could be unpredictable, and he wanted to keep Emma safe. "Stay close to me," he whispered. "We're going around them." Emma nodded, gripping his hand a little tighter. She could sense his determination and trusted him completely. Together, they moved carefully along the edge of the street, avoiding the boys without drawing attention. Once they were past the group, Miles let out a small sigh of relief. "We're safe now," he said. Emma smiled softly. "Thank you for always helping me," she said. Miles felt a warmth in his chest. "Of course," he said. "I'll always be here for you. After school." Miles decided to take a different route home with Emma. He wanted to show her a small park he had discovered near his neighborhood, a quiet place where few people went. It was a hidden gem, full of tall trees, soft grass, and a small fountain that bubbled gently. "This place is amazing," Emma said as they approached the fountain. "I can hear the water so clearly." "It feels magical," Miles smiled. "I knew you'd like it. It's one of my favorite places. I come here when I need to think or just feel calm." They sat on a bench near the fountain, letting the sounds of the water and the rustling leaves wash over them. Emma's small hand still held Miles's, and the comfort of his presence made her feel braver than ever before. As they talked about their day, a man approached them. He was well-dressed, with a kind face and a gentle voice. "Hello, children," he said warmly. "I couldn't help but notice you enjoying the park. My name is Mr. Harris. I work for a community center nearby, and we often look for young people who show kindness and courage." Miles blinked, surprised. He wasn't used to strangers noticing him. Emma's hand tightened around his slightly, sensing his surprise. Mr. Harris looked directly at Miles. "I heard about what you did yesterday," he said. "Helping a blind girl through the busy streets. That was an act of real courage. You have a good heart, and I think you could make a difference in our community." Miles felt a mix of pride and disbelief. "Me? I just helped her because she needed it," he stammered. "And that's exactly why it matters," Mr. Harris said. "Kindness like yours is rare and it can inspire others. I would like to invite you to visit our community center. We help children learn, grow, and find opportunities to shine. I think you have great potential." Emma looked up at Miles, her voice full of excitement. "Miles, this could be amazing for you." Miles felt his heart race. He had never imagined an opportunity like this. Life had been hard for him and his family. Money was always tight, and most days were spent just trying to get by. But this was something different. Something that could change his life forever. Will they really help me?" he asked cautiously. Mr. Harris smiled. "We help all children who show courage, honesty, and kindness. From what I've seen, you already have all three." Miles felt a rush of hope and gratitude. For the first time in a long time, he could see a future that wasn't filled with struggle alone. There was a possibility for something better, something brighter. Emma squeezed his hand. "You deserve this, Miles," she said softly. "You've always helped me, and now it's your turn to get help too." Miles looked at her small, trusting face and felt a swell of emotion. He realized that helping Emma had not only changed her day, it had changed his life too. By being brave and kind, he had attracted an opportunity that could shape his future in ways he never imagined. The rest of the afternoon was spent walking together to the community center with Mr. Harris. Miles couldn't stop thinking about how different his life could be. He had always dreamed of going to school regularly, learning new things and helping his family in ways he hadn't been able to before. Now that dream seemed closer than ever. When they arrived at the community center, Miles was amazed. The building was filled with books, art supplies, and smiling children working on projects. Volunteers moved about helping students learn and explore. Mr. Harris gave Miles a tour, introducing him to teachers, mentors, and other children who had overcome challenges and found hope through the center. "This is incredible," Miles whispered to Emma. She smiled. "I knew you'd like it," she said. "And I think this is just the beginning for you." Miles spent the next few hours exploring the center, meeting children his age, and learning about the programs they offered. He realized that courage, kindness, and determination could open doors he had never thought possible. The day felt like a turning point, a moment when everything started to change for the better. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the city, Miles and Emma walked home together. Miles felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. Helping Emma had led him to this moment, a moment that could define the rest of his life. Emma's mother greeted them at the door. She had heard about the community center and smiled at Miles. "I think this is a wonderful opportunity for you," she said. "We're so grateful for everything you've done for Emma, and now it's time for someone to help you." Miles felt tears prick his eyes. He had never been praised like this, never felt such recognition for his kindness. "Thank you," he said simply. "I won't forget this." That night, as Miles lay in bed, he thought about everything that had happened. He thought about Emma's small hand in his, the crowded streets, the fear, the trust. and now the hope that the community center offered him. He realized that life could change in an instant, that courage and kindness could create opportunities, and that helping others could lead to unexpected rewards. Miles drifted off to sleep with a quiet determination. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new opportunities. But he also knew that he had found a path, a place where his heart, courage, and kindness could make a difference, not just for himself, but for the people around him. And for Emma, she had learned something powerful too. The world was not always cruel or ignoring. There were people who noticed, people who cared, and people who could change lives with a simple act of kindness. Together, she and Miles had created a bond built on trust, courage, and compassion, a bond that could last a lifetime. In the quiet of that evening, two young hearts understood an important truth. When someone shows kindness without expecting anything in return, they do more than help, they change the world, starting with the lives of those around them. The next morning, Miles woke up feeling a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. He had been accepted into the community center's program, and today would be his first day attending classes there. The idea of learning new things, meeting other children, and having guidance from mentors made his heart race with hope. Yet he also felt a small flicker of fear that he might not fit in or that he might fail. After a quick breakfast, Miles grabbed his worn backpack and stepped out into the morning light. The streets were alive with the usual energy. Vendors calling out, cars rushing past, children running to school. Miles held his head high, determined to face the day with courage. As he approached the community center, he felt his nerves melt slightly at the sight of the smiling faces and welcoming staff waiting to greet him. Mr. Harris met him at the door. "Welcome, Miles," he said warmly. "I'm so glad you're here. Today is the start of something wonderful." Miles nodded, feeling both shy and proud. "Thank you," he replied quietly. Inside the center, the day passed quickly. Miles learned new skills, from reading and writing exercises to art projects and basic computer lessons. For the first time in his life, he felt like he was in a place where learning was fun, and where he could grow without fear or judgment. The mentors encouraged him, praising his efforts and helping him when he struggled. Emma came to visit him during the afternoon. She had finished her own school day and was eager to see how he was doing. "How is it?" she asked as she entered the room. Miles's face lit up. "It's amazing," he said. "I'm learning so much and everyone is so kind. I feel like I belong here." Emma smiled. "I'm so happy for you, Miles. You deserve this." For Miles, her words carried more weight than any praise from adults. Emma's trust and friendship had been the first spark of hope in his life, and now it was guiding him toward a brighter future. Days turned into weeks, and Miles grew more confident. He attended classes regularly, helped other children at the center, and even volunteered to guide new students through the building. His life, once filled with uncertainty and struggle, was slowly transforming. He discovered talents he had never known he possessed, skills in art, problem-solving, and leadership. One afternoon, as Miles was helping a younger child read, he noticed Emma approaching with her cane tapping lightly on the floor. She stopped beside him, her face glowing with excitement. "Miles," she said, "I have an idea. We could start a small group for children like me, children who need help and guidance. We could teach them courage and kindness just like you helped me." Miles paused, considering her words. "Do you really think we can?" he asked. "I do," Emma replied firmly. "We can make a difference just like you made a difference for me." Miles felt a surge of pride and determination. Together they began planning the group, gathering children who needed support and helping them learn to navigate challenges with confidence. Emma's insight and Miles's courage made them a strong team. They discovered that even small acts of guidance and care could ripple through the lives of others, creating a chain of kindness and hope. Meanwhile, news of Miles's courage and dedication spread through the neighborhood. Parents, teachers, and neighbors began noticing the young boy who had once sold newspapers on the street. They saw a child who had faced difficulties but had chosen to rise above them, using his strength and kindness to help others. Offers of support came in, scholarships, school supplies, and even small donations for his family. Miles's mother could hardly believe the change. She watched her son thrive with tears of joy in her eyes. "I am so proud of you, Miles," she said one evening. "You have shown that even when life is hard, courage and kindness can change everything." Miles smiled, hugging his mother tightly. He had learned that true courage was not about winning or being strong alone. It was about lifting others up, even when life was difficult. And as he looked at his mother, he felt the importance of every small step he had taken along the way. Emma's presence continued to be a source of inspiration for Miles. Together, they celebrated small victories. The first time a child in their group learned to navigate a crowded street safely. The first time someone smiled with pride after accomplishing a new task. And the moments when children's laughter filled the center. Each success reinforced their belief in the power of kindness and courage. One day, Mr. Harris called Miles into his office. "Miles, I want to tell you how proud I am," he said. "Your efforts at the center, your leadership, and your willingness to help others, it's extraordinary. I think you have a real future ahead of you. Your life is changing, and you are helping change the lives of others too." Miles felt his eyes grow warm with emotion. "Thank you, sir," he said softly. I didn't think I could do all this." "You can," Mr. Harris replied firmly. "You just needed someone to notice your heart. And now the world is noticing." Miles realized how far he had come. Just a few weeks ago, he had been a boy selling newspapers, struggling to survive and feeling invisible in a busy city. Now he was part of a community that believed in him, guiding others and creating opportunities for a better future. He understood that helping Emma had been the first step, but the kindness he had shown had opened doors far beyond what he could have imagined. That evening, as Miles walked home with Emma, they talked about their dreams. "One day," Emma said, "we could make a program that helps children all over the city. Children who are lost, scared, or need guidance. We could show them that kindness and courage can change everything." Miles nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "We will," he said. "We'll make sure no child feels invisible or ignored. We'll be there for them, just like we were there for each other." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the city in shades of orange and pink. For Miles, the world had transformed. He could feel it in every step. The streets that once seemed overwhelming now felt full of opportunity. The people who had ignored him now looked with respect and admiration, and the small acts of kindness he performed were creating ripples of change he had never imagined. As he lay in bed that night, Miles reflected on his journey. He thought about the first day he had met Emma, the fear she had felt and the trust she had placed in him. He thought about the community center, the mentors who believed in him, and the children he was now helping. Every step of his path had been shaped by courage, kindness, and the simple act of helping someone in need. Miles realized something important. Life could change in a single moment, but the real power lay in what came after. It lay in the choices he made each day, the decision to be brave, the decision to help, and the decision to never ignore someone who needed him. Emma, too, had grown stronger. She had learned that she could trust others, that the world was not always cruel, and that kindness could come from unexpected places. With Miles by her side, she felt empowered to face challenges she had once feared, knowing that support and friendship could make even the hardest moments manageable. Together, Miles and Emma had discovered a truth that would guide them for the rest of their lives. One act of courage, one act of kindness, could set off a chain reaction that changed lives forever. They had begun a journey not just of personal growth, but of inspiring others, creating hope, and building a community that believed in the power of goodness. And in that quiet city, under the soft glow of the evening sky, two young hearts understood that the smallest gestures, holding a hand, offering guidance, or showing compassion, could transform not only one life, but the lives of many. The city had changed in subtle ways for Miles. The streets, once overwhelming and confusing, now felt alive with opportunity. People he had never known smiled and greeted him, some nodding with recognition. They had heard the story of the boy who had helped Emma, the blind girl, through the crowded streets. That small act of kindness had grown into something much bigger, a story of courage, hope, and the power of doing what was right. Miles walked toward the community center one bright morning, his backpack on his shoulder, feeling lighter than he had in years. Inside, the center buzzed with activity. Children were painting, reading, learning, and helping each other. The mentors moved quietly among the students, guiding them with patience and encouragement. It was a place full of energy, hope, and possibility. As Miles entered, he spotted Emma near the reading corner. She was smiling broadly, laughing at something one of the other children had said. When she noticed Miles, she waved excitedly. "Miles, I saved a seat for you," she called. Miles grinned and walked over. "Thanks, Emma. You always think of everything," he said. The bond between them had grown stronger over the months. Emma had become braver, more confident, and full of curiosity about the world. Miles had become more responsible, patient, and determined to help others. Together, they had started small groups to help other children learn courage, trust, and independence. It had become a mission they both cherished. One day, Mr. Harris called Miles into his office. "Miles," he said warmly, "I want to tell you how proud I am of you. You've grown in ways that inspire everyone here. Your courage, leadership, and kindness are remarkable. You've helped not only Emma, but many children who needed guidance. I believe you're capable of achieving anything you set your mind to." Miles felt his chest swell with pride. He had never imagined that his life could take this turn. Just months ago, he had been a boy selling newspapers, worried about survival. Now he was a mentor, a helper, and a source of hope for others. "Thank you, sir," he said softly. "I couldn't have done it without Emma, and without the center." Mr. Harris smiled. "It's your heart that made the difference, Miles. You have the courage to see what needs to be done and the kindness to act on it. That is rare." Later that day, Miles and Emma were walking through the park near the center, planning their next group activity. They were talking excitedly about games and exercises that could help other children learn to navigate challenges and trust themselves. Emma's small hand rested in his, a symbol of friendship and shared purpose. "Do you remember the first day we met?" Emma asked softly. Miles nodded. "Of course. You were scared and alone in the rain. I didn't think much. I just wanted to help." Emma smiled. "That day changed everything for both of us. I was lost, and you showed me I wasn't invisible. And you didn't just help me, you inspired me." Miles felt a lump in his throat. He realized that helping Emma had not only given her safety, but had also opened doors for himself. It had led him to the community center, to new opportunities, and to a life filled with purpose. He understood now that small acts of kindness could ripple far beyond what anyone imagined. As they sat on a bench, listening to the fountain's gentle splashing, Miles thought about all the children they had helped together. He remembered the first child who had been nervous to walk across a busy street, the first child who had learned to read confidently, and the laughter and joy that had grown from their efforts. Each success was a reminder that courage and kindness could create lasting change. Emma looked up at him. "Miles, one day I want to help even more children. I want to show them that there are people who care, even when it seems like no one does. Will you help me?" Miles smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility and pride at the same time. "Always," he said. "We'll make sure no child feels alone." Weeks passed and their work grew. Miles had become a natural leader, respected by children and adults alike. He helped organize workshops, guided younger students, and encouraged acts of kindness throughout the center. The small boy who had once sold newspapers in the streets had grown into someone who could inspire and lead. One evening, as Miles was walking home, he reflected on his journey. He remembered the fear he had felt when he first saw Emma lost and alone, the uncertainty of life on the streets and the struggle to survive. And now he realized how far he had come. His courage had opened doors, his kindness had changed lives, and his determination had created a future filled with hope. At home, his mother was waiting, smiling warmly. "Miles, I can't believe how much you've grown," she said. "You've worked so hard and people are noticing. You're helping others and you're making a real difference." Miles hugged her tightly. "I learned from Emma," he said. "She taught me that even small acts matter, and the community center helped me see that I could do more." The next morning, Miles and Emma visited the center together, where children gathered to learn, play, and grow. Miles noticed how each child's eyes lit up when they succeeded, how laughter and encouragement filled the rooms, and how teamwork and kindness created a strong sense of belonging. As Miles looked around, he realized that the act of helping Emma had not only changed her life, but had also transformed his own. He had discovered courage, leadership, and the joy of giving. He had seen firsthand how one small act could grow into something extraordinary, a ripple that spread far beyond what anyone could imagine. Emma turned to him, smiling. "Miles, we did it," she said softly. Miles nodded, feeling the truth in her words. "We did it together," he said. "And this is just the beginning. There's still so much we can do." That evening, as the sun set and painted the city with warm hues, Miles walked home feeling a sense of peace and purpose. He knew that life would have challenges, that not every day would be easy, but he also knew that courage, kindness, and determination could guide him through anything. He thought about the first day he had met Emma, lost and afraid, and how a single decision to help had changed both of their lives. He realized that the greatest gift in life was not wealth, success, or recognition. It was the ability to help others, to inspire hope, and to create a positive impact in the world. Miles lay in bed that night, reflecting on his journey. He thought about Emma, the children they were helping, the mentors at the community center, and the community that had supported him. He felt grateful, proud, and hopeful. He knew that the kindness he had shown and the courage he had discovered within himself would continue to guide him, no matter what challenges lay ahead. And for Emma, she had learned the power of trust, friendship, and courage. She had seen how a single act of help could create ripples that reached far beyond what anyone could imagine. Together, she and Miles had not only transformed their own lives, they had created a legacy of hope and kindness that would continue to grow. In the quiet of the evening, two young hearts understood a truth that would guide them forever. Helping others, showing courage, and offering kindness could change lives, inspire hope, and create a better world. And sometimes the smallest act of bravery, like reaching out a hand to someone in need, could be the beginning of a story that would never be forgotten. Miles closed his eyes, feeling the satisfaction of knowing that he had made a difference. And in his heart he carried the most important lesson of all, that true courage and kindness are gifts, not only to those we help but also to ourselves. In that city, under the glow of the setting sun, a lost blind girl had been helped by a poor boy. And through that single act, two lives were forever changed, proving that hope, courage, and kindness could truly transform the world.